With Mario Kart 8's second DLC pack coming soon, it won't be long until we're playing the 8 new tracks. But until then, we've decided to take a closer look at each one in a track breakdown. This time we're taking a look at Cheeseland, which originally appeared in Mario Kart Super Circuit. It's seen quite the upgrade since that game, so let's take a look at exactly how the course has changed. As soon as the race begins, we can see new billboards on the side of the track. One is for a road service called the MAA, or Mario Automobile Association, a fun play on AAA. Another billboard is for the Red Shell Strike equipment, which is amusing to just think about a company creating red shells just for Mario Kart. The final billboard is, appropriately enough, for Moo Moo Meadows Milk. After all, this desert is almost entirely comprised of cheese. Heck, even the starting line's Mario Kart sign and the track itself are made of cheese. In a nice touch, the posts holding up the sign are actually forks. Meanwhile, there are a few toads watching the race, but they're standing on cheese baskets which are marked with the Cheeseland logo, something that's a bit easier to see in the race introduction. But even before we can make the first turn, we can see just how cheesy this track really is with stacks of cheese just outside the track. Taking the first hard left turn, we come back around and get a better look at the post that was holding up a line of flags. Here we can see that it's actually a shortened fondue fork. Continuing forward just a bit, part of the wall is a giant cheese block with another on top of some rocks. There are also toads dotted along the track, all standing on top of their own cheese boxes. Next up is a weaving section, but we can also see that there are craters in the road. After all, it seems to be designed by the Swiss. But these divots are surprisingly useful as going in and out of one provides a trick opportunity for some more boost. We can even see this being done a little later in the trailer. But the part that really stands out is the giant cheesecake. Not an actual cheesecake, mind you, but cheese arranged like a cake. There even seems to be frosting on top, though we suspect that this is just a large sampling of brie. This section also provides some shortcut opportunities if you have a boost item, not only through the rough road to cut corners, but through a hole in a large block of cheese. The track then curves to the left, showing off more cheese, not only near the track, but in the background as well. At this point, the camera pulls out to show more of this section. There are more curves which could provide shortcut possibilities, except that it's difficult to tell if the rough patches are all flat with the track. We think it evens up at some point, but maybe not enough to get much of a shortcut. In the background of this scene, we can see a very flat-looking mushroom house with several toads hanging out in front. We're not quite sure if it's a reference to desert living or something cheese-related, but it's definitely a different style of mushroom house. The camera then pans along with the racers, showing that the track then takes a right turn with another block of cheese on the side. But like before, this one has a hole in the middle that will allow for a shortcut with a boost item. We can even see the Cheeseland logo on the side of the cheese. This turn then leads into a small straightaway before Luigi needs to curve around another bend. In the background, we can even see an anti-gravity panel, which is where the race is heading as Luigi takes the turn. But on the left, we get our first good look at the mushroom house, which seems designed for desert living. We then get a boost panel to launch toward the anti-gravity section, but a quick look back does show that the track is also lined with cheese wedges. As we land on the next part of the track, it leads to a vertical turn, though we see that another boost item could be used to cut across here. But when the trailer switches the focus on Peach, we get a much better look at the background of Cheeseland. And, well, it's quite the slice of life. There are several giant pepperoni pizzas supported in the air by pieces of rock, similar to a plateau, but not quite. Thanks to another angle on the pizzas though, we see that the pepperonis are actually more mushroom huts. The pizza is also more supported in the back, which makes sense since that's how you hold a pizza. The turn then takes us to a glide panel that leads directly to a chain chomp. But don't worry, the track warns you he's there with multiple signs hanging from an arch. One that says danger and another that shows the chomp in the same vein as a beware of dog sign. Amusingly, one of the arch's posts is made of a knife for cutting the cheese. Wait. At any rate, we can see this next section is also an anti-gravity thanks to the peg in the middle of the track. The bigger question is how Yoshi got so high in the air like this when everyone else is still on the track. Well, this scene takes place after the initial chain chomp encounter since we see another in the foreground. The camera pan also shows a ramp just off the track. This is where Yoshi took this massive shortcut. We can see that he went through the stack of cheese too as it's falling back into place, so Yoshi boosted through them with no issues. Of course, having figured all of that out, the next scene shows Peach doing exactly that. The arch with the warning signs and the chain chomp are in the background, and she uses a mushroom to boost through the rough road, onto the ramp, and into the sky thanks to the glide panel. But from this angle, not only can we see the second chain chomp, but another ramp with a glide panel blocked by cheese stacks. This could be a huge advantage since that's the final stretch of the race. Another fun detail is that the Chain Chomp's chain is pinned to the ground by a fork. The trailer then shows some alternate angles of these sections. The most interesting is just before the warning arch, where we can see that there's also a billboard at the turn explicitly showing that Chain Chomps are just ahead. The last bit of the race is filled with ramps for trick opportunities, but that glide panel shortcut that we saw before is definitely the faster method, as we see Mario zoom past Donkey Kong to the finish. Cheeseland is filled with shortcut opportunities provided you have the right item. Some are shorter than others, but it makes for a very dynamic track. But that's all for this track breakdown. Make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain for more track analyses from Mario Kart 8's DLC and other things gaming too.